So we are going to be learning to understand linear geometry today. So this is just revising everything you have already learned in Unit 1. So to start off, we're going to be looking at the length of the line segment. Now, one of the things we know with the length of the line segment is we will be looking at the run, and for the run here, we can be saying that it's x2 minus x1. So looking at this point here, take away that. Likewise, we'll look at the rise, and the rise is y2 take away y1. So it's whenever we think about it in this form, we are thinking about Pythagoras theorem. So we've got um, a plus a squared plus b squared, and that's going to give us our c squared right here. So in terms of our our A will just be x2 minus x1. And in terms of our B will be y2 minus y1. To get C by itself, we're just going to square root. The next part, we just need to be substituting our values. So when you do this, just make sure you've labeled as x1, y1, x2, y2, just so you don't make any simple mistakes. So once I've substituted it in, all I'm going to do is simplify. So 5 take away 2 is 3, and 5 take away 1 is 4. And I'm just going to square it. So 3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16. Let's put it together. So 9 plus 16 is 25, and square root of 25 is C, which is the length of my line segment. So C is 5. Again, if we think about our midpoint, we're going to start off with our run and look at the length of our run. To find the midpoint of a horizontal line, we just half it. So we're going to find the middle point, and then we're going to go up. We're going to do that to our run. So look at, our rise. So look at our rise and find the middle point of that line. And then we're going to come to the middle and will tell us our midpoint. If we think about the formula, to find the midpoint of this horizontal line, we would have added x1 and x2 up together and then halved it. Likewise, to find the midpoint of the rise, we would have added y2 and y1 together and then halved it to find the middle point. So let's do that in terms of putting the values in. So that means I'm going to have 5 plus negative 5 over 2. And for my y's, I'll have 5 plus negative 3 over 2. If we simplify that, we will be getting 0 and 1, which is what we've got here. When x is 0, y is 1. The next rule that we're going to just briefly go over is our gradient. And we know our gradient is rise over run. So our rise is y2 minus y1. And our run is x2 minus x1. So we can think about it as rise over run, or we can think about it as m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We can substitute our values in, and we've got 5 take away 2 is 3 over 5 take away negative 5 is 10. So our gradient here is 3 over 10. Now, with the equation of a straight line, we've already worked out its gradient, and we've already got a point. So I'm going to use 5 and 5 for this. Now we know if we grab x2 minus x1 and take it to the other side, we've got our point intercept form that we'll be using. So this means we've got our m value, we've got our x1, and we've got a y1. So we're just substituting our 3 values in, and that leaves us just an x and a y. If I expand this, that means 3 over 10 times x and 3 over 10 times 5. And that gives us 310x minus 3 over 10 is equal to y minus 5. The next part is just adding 5 to each side, and that gets y by itself. I just need to finish off simplifying this. We know 5 is the same as 10 over 2. So that means it'll be negative 3 over 2 plus 10 over 2. And that will give us 7 over 2. We've got a negative and negative there, so that will just cancel out and become a positive. In terms of perpendicular lines, we know a perpendicular is a 90-degree angle. So that means we know that m1 times m2 is equal to negative 1. So our gradient before and what we've got on the screen is 3 over 10. To find a perpendicular line, we need to be flipping our fraction and changing the positive and negative sign. So if we flip it, it will turn into 10 over 3. This is positive, so our perpendicular gradient must be negative. We can double check it by putting it into the formula. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. 3 times 10 is 30. Negative 30 over 30 is negative 1. Let's have a look at some questions. So to start off with, we are going to sketch the following graph. I've already got it sketched here, but so we can visualize what it's going to look like, but we're going to look at it in terms of identifying the y-intercept. So if we find the y-intercept here, it means our x has to be 0. So I'm just going to make x 0. If I make x 0, I'm just simplifying it. 0 over 2 is 0, so I'm left with negative 3y over 4 is equal to 6. I times both sides by 4, and I get negative 3y is equal to 24. And finally, I have to get y by itself, so I divide both sides by negative 3, and that gives me y equals negative 8. I'm going to do the same thing, but identify the x-intercepts. To find the x-intercepts, I know y equals 0. So same thing, whenever I see a y, I'll make it a 0, which means this fraction right here just turns into 0 and leaves me with x over 2 is equal to 6. The final step is making x equal to 12 by timesing both sides by 2. That's where we can see these points. Just make sure that when we are drawing, so sketching our graph, you need to label everything. So here I'm going to say when x is 0, y is negative 8, and when x is 12, y is 0. So I'm making sure that I am labeling my intercepts. Let's look at this question. Form the equation of the line that passes through the points negative 10 and 3 and negative 2. So the first thing we need to be doing here is finding the gradient. To find the gradient, we need to know our points and we need to label them. One is x1 and y1, the other one is x2 and y2. The next step is we need to put it into the gradient equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that will turn into negative 2 take away 0 over 3 take away negative 1. We can simplify it. Negative 2 take away 0 is negative 2. and 3 take away -1, that's 3 plus 1, would be -2/4, which is -1/2. Now, to find the equation, we're going to use point-intercept form. So that is coming from our gradient where x2 minus x1 is taken over to the other side. That means we need gradient and we need to pick 1 point. So I'm going to pick -1 and 0 here. And we've just found out our gradient. So all we're going to do is place all those values into our equation. So we've got -1/2 in brackets x take away -1 is equal to y take away 0. We can simplify this. Negative and negative is positive, and y take away 0 is just y. So this gets y by itself, except we just want to expand these brackets, so that will leave us with y is equal to 1/2 x take away 1/2. Determine the equation of the line passing through 10, -8, that is perpendicular to the line y is equal to 2x plus 1, and sketch its graph. So the first thing we need here is we need to identify the gradient. So the rule for a perpendicular gradient is we're going to use the rule m1 times m2 is equal to -1. So the gradient we're given at the moment is 2. So we need to apply the rule, we flip the fraction, we change the sign. So that means if I flip this, 2 is the same as 2/1. So it'll be 1/2. And this one was positive, so my perpendicular gradient will be negative. The next step is I need to use the point-intercept form. So we've got our point of 10 and -8, and we've got our gradient we've just found. So we just need to now substitute those 3 values into the point-intercept formula to give us -1/2 x minus 10 in brackets is equal to y take away -8. We can simplify this out. A negative and a negative is equal to a positive. And then we can expand our bracket. So -1/2 times x is -1/2 x, and -1/2 times -10, or negative and a negative is a positive, half of 10 is 5, so is equal to y plus 8. The final part is to get y by itself, so we are going to take away 8 from both sides. So if I take away 8 from both sides, that will be 5 take away 8 should be -3. So that gives me y is equal to -1/2 x take away 3. So this now gives us our equation for our perpendicular line. We just need to be able to sketch it. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I've just drawn down a Cartesian plane. Because we've already got it in y equals mx plus c form, then this straight away tells me my c value, which is my y-intercept. When x is 0, what's left over? So that gives me -3, which means I know it's going to cross here at -3. The next part I could use is I could use the gradient, or I could use the y-intercept. It doesn't matter, but in terms of we always want to make sure that we can label every intercept. So I'm going to look at the x-intercept. So I'm just going to label this as 0 and -3. So to find the x-intercept, we would have had to have done y is equal to 0. So that means we've got 0 is equal to -1/2 x take away 3. We would have plus 3 to 2 both sides. So we would have got 3 is equal to negative 0.5x. And the final part is to get x by itself. So to get x by itself, we'll be dividing by negative 0.5, and that gives me x is going to be equal to negative 6. So this tells me when x is negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, y is 0. That allows me to form my line. Just make sure you show that it is going to continue. So you're putting arrows because we're not restricting it. And we're labeling it as negative 6, comma 0. So we're labeling our intercepts. This is the next question. Determine the value of a if the point 2a and 2 minus a lies on the line given by 5y is equal to negative 3x plus 4. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to do is substitute those two values into the equation. So that means I've got 5y is equal to negative 3x plus 4. I know what x is worth and I know what y is worth. So I'm going to rewrite my equation as 5, 2 minus a in brackets is equal to negative 3 in brackets 2a plus 4. The next step is solving the equation. So I'm going to expand. So that means I'm going 5 times 2 and 5 times negative a. And then I'm going negative 3 times 2a and negative 3. Sorry, just negative 3 times 2a. That gives me 10, take away 5a, and negative 6a plus 4. The final step is getting our a's to one side. So it will be easier just to add 5a to both sides. And that will leave me with 10 is equal to negative a plus 4. I'll get a by itself by taking away 4. So that will give me negative a is equal to 6. And I'll just take the negative off and change that to the other side and leaves me with a is equal to negative 6.